Instructor Pool. Wanted to take a few moments here to talk a little bit more about our multimodal analysis essay assignment and some related assignments that we have leading up to it. So, as you can see, this week we have a couple of assignments. You have your initial posts due on the proposal. I'll show you that assignment in a few moments, but for right now, just know that this is where you will be pitching or proposing the idea for what you're going to write about for your multimodal project. You should be kind of familiar with this by now, but you'll also be replying to your classmates' posts as well for this one. We have a very small class here, so I'm going to forego any, putting you into groups and that kind of things. So I'm just going to ask you to reply to someone who is posted. If you see somebody who has multiple replies, maybe skip to someone who hasn't had any replies yet so that everybody can get a little bit of feedback. You see the due dates on those. Both will be due ultimately by Friday at midnight, but you need to get your initial post in ahead of that by Wednesday. Once that's done, you'll have an extended research proposal. Now, you'll want to wait until after you get your replies on that one. So let's just call that due this week, let's say by Sunday. Before you start looking at the proposal, though, you need to have an idea about what you want to write about and how you want to approach the multimodal project itself. Now, you're going to be turning it in our assignments tab. But first, let's go to the content tab so we can look at the instructions for that assignment. I'm going to click on week 7, which is actually next week if you're watching this on time, but this is where you'll find some information. So here are the guidelines for the multimodal literary analysis. You're going to be selecting a non-traditional text. That means something that's not a book, a poem, a story, and something that has been analyzed or discussed before. It can be, as you see here, an album, a song, a film, a TV show, a series, a piece of visual art. So anything that's artistic and has some sort of literary value, but isn't a story or a poem, or primarily exists just as written text. You're going to be synthesizing at least 3 research sources related either to that non-traditional text that you've chosen itself or to related issues like we did with major writing assignment number 2. And I will let you look at the presentation mechanics and things like that at your leisure. So take a look at all of that when you get a chance. And as always, if you have any questions, let me know. Now, your first question is probably going to be, oh my God, what is a multimodal analysis? That essentially just means that you are using multimodal analysis strategies, meaning that you're going to be analyzing this either visual or narrative storytelling, whether it's an album, a film, a TV show episode, things like that. You're going to be analyzing those using the same kinds of approaches that we use to analyzing poems and short stories as we did earlier in the semester. Now, there are a couple of things here which I want to point out. These are actually in week 7, but it would probably be a good idea to go ahead and look at these ahead of time. The first one is this resource, the multimodal analysis resource. Again, these are in our week 7 content. If you click on that, it's going to take you to this PowerPoint. And I'm not going to go through this slide by slide with you here because I'll trust that you'll look at that and absorb it on your own. But obviously, if you do have any questions about it, let me know. Now, this should be, I I think, fairly adequate at giving you an idea of the kinds of things that you're going to want to analyze. Please pay special attention to the societal connection. We're going to kind of connect this or put it into the context of kind of where it exists um, in our society. Now, you might choose a certain issue or a certain kind of theme that the work that you are analyzing represents and do it that way. I'll let you look at these notes. You can scroll through these on your own. And if you have any questions, as always, please let me know. When you get ready to do the actual paper down the road, there's also a couple of other things which I want to show you. Again, in our week 7 content, there are a couple of templates here. These kind of serve as two things. One, it serves as a template you can use. You can just download this and type your paper in there, change your name and my contact information up here, and the date, obviously. But you can use this as a template and it will already be in MLA style. And it also kind of serves as if you scroll through here, as an outline for the paper itself. So going back to our schedule, which I've listed on our announcements here, the two things that you have to do this, actually the three things, sorry, that you have to do this week. The first one is the research proposal post. You can find that in the discussions tab. It's in unit 3. And essentially, you're going to identify the text that you've chosen for this assignment, explain why you chose it, and weigh in on those kind of things. Next, you're going to want to start identifying a theme. Now, note, this is not a topic. So let's say, for instance, if I were doing this, I would probably write about something that I'm obsessed with right now. I just started watching this TV show called School Spirits. It's on Paramount. If you like paranormal, murder mystery stuff, that's kind of lighthearted, but kind of serious too. I check it out. So my wife and I have been obsessed with this show. We're almost finished with it, and essentially, it's about high school students, one of whom dies, maybe or maybe not, as we get into the show. During the first episode, and she kind of wakes up in this kind of spirit realm with a bunch of other spirits or ghosts who are trapped in the high school that she goes to. And from there, this kind of mystery unspools where they're trying to figure out what happened to her, who murdered her, and what's going on, that all of these spirits are kind of trapped in the school. And as I'm watching it, I think that it kind of touches on a couple of different themes. I think that it explores the way that we process grief as we see the other characters react to her death, even though she's kind of still there among them and most of them can't see her or interact with her. We see how they process the information about her death and how they go through the stages of grief. So if I were going to look at this show, I would probably would look at it through that lens. And my theme would be the way that we process grief. So I'm going to analyze this TV show along the lines of, or through the lens of, the way that we process grief and what it can show us or what it can illustrate about that. You can then connect that to our society. I think this is something that is kind of universal. People die, and no matter which culture we come from or where we live or what age we are, we all are touched in some way by grief. And I think that the way that we are learning about in the 21st century, the way that we're learning about our own psychology kind of changes the way that we think about that. So I might write about those kind of things as I try to connect it to the societal part of that. You're going to want to end your proposal with a couple of questions that people can respond to. There are some examples here. Just, post some questions that you think might help you get some feedback, if you got some feedback about things that you might improve. And then, as I said earlier, choose a couple of your peers to respond to. Please ignore, obviously, these due dates. Our class is going to be done well before July. I just used this assignment from a class last summer. So please ignore those. You'll see the due dates in the other place. Once you have done that and you've gotten some feedback, you'll be ready to do the extended research proposal. And you can find that in our assignments tab, as you just saw me click through here. Essentially, you're just going to extend the proposal that you did in the discussion board into more detail, and I've given you a template, which I think will answer any questions that you might have. So that's a real quick rundown on this week's assignments, and also looking forward to next week's assignment, which is the multimodal research analysis. So get started on that. First step would be thinking about what you're interested in and what kinds of things you want to start analyzing. And your first step would be to do the discussion post that you see proposing that, and then wait for feedback from your peers and do the extended proposal, which I will give you some feedback on as we get into next week. As always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to let me know.